So just explain the thinking behind this decision not to stand against Conservative candidates, because I would have thought that either you accept that the Brexit Party is going to take votes off the Conservatives and will make Brexit less likely to happen, or you don't. So you either stand everywhere or you stand nowhere.
Yeah, well, I think the fear we had was that by standing up against the Tories, we might create another hung parliament, or worse, give power to the Labour Party or in some kind of arrangement, perhaps with the Lib Dems. And those two parties are hostile to Brexit. So the key for us was to try and get a Leave sympathetic majority of parliamentarians in Parliament. And, you know, we could have cut that cake in a number of different ways, but the way we decided to do it was to simply stand down against the Tories in those 317 seats.
I mean, you're talking there about the risk of a hung parliament.
Yeah.
If you're really worried about the risk of a hung parliament, why is the Brexit Party still standing in some of those marginals held by Labour MPs?
I mean, what we'd hoped was that the Tories would respond positively to the enormously generous offer that we made 2 weeks ago, which was for them to stand down in the 150-odd seats that they haven't won for over 100 years in the Labour heartlands, where actually, you know, the Brexit Party has a very good choice, and we would stand down against them. And in that way, we would have had a very strong Leave majority in Parliament. And they didn't take up that offer, so we unilaterally put that into place, in effect. And we still hoped that the Tories might stand down. And as we now know, that was a forlorn hope, because they haven't. So we're going head-to-head with the Tories in these heartlands, and so be it.
Is the truth that, you know, some in the Brexit Party or some on the Brexit side of the debate want Brexit to happen more than anything, so that's why there's been this pressure to stand down? But Nigel Farage loves the limelight a little bit too much. He's not willing to give it all up, and so that's why you're in this kind of half-in, half-out situation.
No, I don't think so. I think we're all in it for Brexit. We genuinely are. You know, if you look at the collection of MEPs we've got, the bunch of people that I know best, obviously, we're from all parts of the political spectrum, but we've come together because we just want Brexit done. And we want it done properly, not the way Boris wants to do it.
Hang on a minute. So I'm going to pick you up there. You want Brexit done properly, not the way Boris Johnson wants to do it. So why are you not standing against Conservatives? I mean, Nigel Farage has spent the last month or so saying that his deal isn't Brexit at all.
Well, the Labour Party, just going back to where I started, so the Labour Party and the Lib Dems are overtly hostile to Brexit. So we've got to get... You know, there's no prospect of the Brexit Party forming a government. You know, we've got to be realistic about that. So we've got to try and bring the Tories under pressure to do the right thing. And the only way to do that is to give them a majority, not a very big majority in Parliament, with us having a handful of seats and then keeping them honest. What we really need to do is get the Prime Minister to pivot away from the withdrawal agreement, which is, if you've read my Twitter feed, you'll know I think is subjugation of the United Kingdom. So, you know, I see the withdrawal agreement as much worse than Remain, frankly. And so we've got to get the Prime Minister to move away from...
You think Remain is better than the Boris Johnson's deal?
I do, yeah. I do think it's much better, because if you think about it, under Boris Johnson's deal, we're going to leave Northern Ireland bereft. We're going to leave the European Union.
Is that the official Brexit Party position, that remaining in the EU is better than Boris Johnson's deal?
That may or may not be our position. That's certainly my view. When I look at the withdrawal agreement...
So why on earth are you standing down in Conservative seats, then?
Because we've got to... They're not hostile. The Tories are not hostile to Brexit. We've got to make sure...
but they're pushing the deal, aren't they? That's the policy.
They are pushing the deal. And
if you think Remain's better, then surely you prefer to see Jeremy Corbyn in.
One of the declarations on which Nigel based a lot of his reliance was the declaration that Boris Johnson made last Sunday, that we wouldn't be in transition beyond December 2020, and that we would, in effect, get a Canada-style arrangement rather than a political declaration.
You still have the withdrawal agreement, which is, in your view, worse than
absolutely. I think it's highly dangerous. But we need to make sure that Boris Johnson keeps to the promise that he made last Sunday, and we leave the European Union cleanly. The risk with the withdrawal agreement is that with the ECJ calling all the shots as we go through the transition phase, we end up in some kind of lockstep with the European Union in perpetuity. So we've got to get a number of seats to make sure that that doesn't happen.
Now, there's been lots of allegations that the Conservative Party have been offering jobs to Brexit Party candidates in return for them standing down. The Met have put out a statement today saying that they've received 2 allegations of electoral fraud and malpractice in relation to the 2019 election. Now, they're not saying what the substance of those allegations are about, but in your understanding, Is it correct that the government has been offering members of the Brexit Party jobs?
Well, sadly, no job was ever offered to me. No inducement was offered to me. But I am aware that a number of my colleagues have been pressed. And Anne Widdecombe, for example, I know was offered some sort of negotiating position with the Tory party from Number 10. Someone from Number 10 called Anne. And I know there have been lots of conversations going on and discussions and pressure has been brought to bear.
I mean, how many people are we talking about here?
I don't know is the frank. I don't know how, but I know it's been going on.
Because the Conservative Party says it's flatly untrue. They say it's absolutely false. Are you saying that they're lying?
Well, I'm saying they're being economical with the truth, for sure. Absolutely, it has been going on, without a shadow of a doubt.
OK. Interesting stuff. Now, just looking ahead to the election coming up, is there a Brexit Party candidate standing in your constituency?
No, in Fulham, no, there isn't, sadly.
Who are you going to vote for, then?
Well, I'm torn. Greg Hands was at university with me, and I know him to be a good man. And I may vote for Greg, because he's a Tory. But if I don't vote for Greg, then I'm afraid I'll probably put, for the first time since 1983, when I first voted, I'll probably put something sort of spoiling on the ballot paper to the effect of Brexit Party with a big tick and put it in the box.
Do you feel frustrated that because of your party's policy, you're not going to be able to vote?
Well, I think with the benefit of hindsight, you know, maybe we shouldn't have stood 317 candidates down, with the benefit of hindsight, because the Tories haven't responded positively to it. They haven't stood down and assured a proper leave mandate in Parliament. I think Fulham's not, you know, one of the seats that we would have won, to be honest. But we are where we are, and we will fight a good election. I think we've got 274 candidates standing.
Are you going to win any MPs?
I think we will. I actually think we will.
Go on, how many do you reckon, then?
Well, I don't know, but I'd be surprised if we don't get at least 5, and I'd be very pleased if we get 20, and probably everyone watching me right now is going, yeah, right. But I think there's a good chance. You know, if you think about this election, it's not just split down party lines, it's split down Brexit and Remain lines too. So you've got multiple things going on, and seats could be won on as low as 25% of the vote cast or 30% of the vote cast. So you won't get these, you know, thumping majorities coming through as we have done in the past in each seat. And national polls won't tell you the picture either, because we're not standing in a lot of the seats. So you've got to look at it on a constituency by constituency basis. And I think there's a real possibility of us winning seats, absolutely.